Good evening, friends, and welcome to Trust Me, Talk to Me, which is a series of live chat shows which will be streamed on the Trust Me group on various subjects of mental health and mental well being to help us all, to help us lead a better quality life and a more peaceful life. Last week, we had a session on depression where Dr. Manpreet Khemka was our expert psychiatrist who talked to us about depression. This week, we bring another very eminent guest, Dr. Madhusudhan Singh Solanki, who's a senior psychiatrist working at Max Healthcare and spending his most of the clinical time at Max Smart Saket. He also does online consultations, so he can be reached online as well. He's a senior psychiatrist and working in the area of adult psychiatry, psychopharmacotherapy, now which means basically the drug management of illnesses, integrated psychiatry, de-addiction, geriatric mental health, consultation licensed psychiatry, psychotherapy, patient empowerment, and holistic healing. He has won many awards. He has authored some research papers and has contributed to course content for budding psychiatrists. And one thing which he's not sharing with us, which I'd like to reveal and kind of at the cost of being pulled by him later on, he's a very good singer. He's a good musician. He composes his own music. He composes his own song, and he publishes original songs of his. So you can look for him on YouTube and find his musical aspect over there. Along with Dr. Solanki, we have got another guest with us, and her name is Dipti Dugal, who will be sharing her life experiences about anxiety, stress, and what she felt, and what she did about this, and how she helped herself, how she sought help. So Dipti Dugal also happens to be sister of Kavita Chadha, who is our admin and founder. And we are really indebted to Kavita for starting this wonderful group, which is trying to help us all, a very noble cause she's doing. So first of all, welcome, Dr. Madhusudhan Singh Solanki. And before I talk to
Thank you,
you,
sir.
I'll hand over the mic to Dipti. Dipti, please come in, introduce yourself, and briefly tell us about your experiences.
Well, hi, I'm Deepti, and
Hello,
as Dr.
Deepti.
Dhawan has said, that I am Kavita's sister. I call her Didi, so I'll continue calling her Didi only because I cannot call her Kavita. So she is my sister, and I'm 12 years younger to her. And had I went to Dr. Solanki. I am one of the anxiety attacks survivors, if you can say. So, and I always say that he is the one who cured me. And how did that happen? Well, it happened in 2015. My mother-in-law was battling a relapse of cancer, ovarian cancer, and the doctor had almost given up on her. She expired the same year in December. So what used to happen was that my husband, my father-in-law, and my brother-in-law, they were all working. So they used to all go to their offices, and I used to be with her with a 5-year-old kid, my kid. And I used to see her sinking every day. I mean, one day she was fine, the other day she used to be like vomiting and not eating and just sleeping, undergoing chemo, and that was really bad. Losing all hair and making a 5-year-old understand all that stuff was also very difficult for me. So what happened? I started getting I could not understand that there were anxiety attacks, but I just used to just cry, cry, and cry. I didn't want to get out of the bed, didn't want to do anything. And on the brink of anything, I used to just cry, cry in front of my mother-in-law, cry in front of my cook. And I didn't know why I was crying. So out of the blue, I just told one day, I told my husband, I said, I need to see a psychiatrist. And as a layman, I need to. We didn't know any psychiatrist at that time. And since I'm living in Malviya Nagar, so the first option I looked in was at Max. And I got to know Dr. Madhusudan, and I went to him. And I don't know if he remembers or not, but I cried in front of him for like 30 minutes. I just cried. And I didn't know why I was crying. I just cried. And the first question I still remember, he asked me, do you want your 5-year-old to see you like this while she's growing up? And I think I answered no. I said, no, I don't want to see her like this. I don't want her to see me like this. And he says, so we'll get you out of it. And then we started therapy sessions. Sometimes I used to go alone. Sometimes I used to go with my husband. And there were certain times when he counseled my husband also that you have to share things with her. Don't hide things from her, like regarding your career or anything. And then there were some tests that we did. And that basically the test that we did was thyroid test. And then we got to know that my hypothyroid had converted into hyperthyroid because of all this stress and anxiety. And I think I had lost around 5 to 7 kilos within a month. So then I think it was like, then we started a treatment called CBT, cognitive. I don't know the full form. If Dr. Solanki can tell me.
Cognitive
But he-
behavioral.
through. And I didn't get him that canvas, but I think I clicked the photograph of it and it had all bright colors. So he said that, see, your mind says that you want to get out of it. You are not depressed. You are undergoing mild depression because of your mother-in-law, because you're seeing her every day. So he says, why don't you start pursuing your hobby? And that is when I started doing that. Unfortunately, I had to leave it in between because she started deteriorating and I had to give all my time to her. Once she passed away in December 2015, I took a break of like 2 to 3 months, and then again I picked up my pens. And it's been ever since that I've started painting. And it's all because of him that I came out. I still get anxiety attacks, but very less. I think once in 3 months, and that is if there is some tension in my mind. And I know that medicine, Petrol MD, I take that whenever I feel anxious. I just take that. So that's it. So I have even told my sister, because she has depression. I told her to consult you so many times because I give my full credit to you that I could come out of it. And my daughter, and now I do what I love. I paint. And if you guys can allow me, I can show you some of my work which I'm doing these days. So
Great.
can I, Dr. Dhawan?
Sure, we have a couple of minutes more for you. So go ahead.
Yeah. So this is something that I'm doing these days. I'm painting plates. So these are some of my work, and we are doing it
So-
professionally now. Yeah.
Great. So
it's a
Dipti,
small
I'm
venture
appreciating.
that I've started.
Dipti, I'm
I'll
appreciating
send you.
you through others only because I cannot see it. But
I'll
yes,
take
it
your
must be
number
good.
from Dr. I'll take your number from Dr. Dhawan and I'll WhatsApp you.
Great. I'll wait for that.
Yeah, but it's all your credit. All credit goes to you that I could come out of it. And it's seriously, I am indebted to you that I am back to being a non-depressed person. And I am like now very positive. And I'm not the one who you used to see crying all the time. No, I smile all the time now. So yeah, that's my story.
Great, great, great.
Great. So, Dipti, thank you very much for sharing. It takes really some amount of courage and determination to be able to share your inside, your inner thoughts, what you felt, what you experienced, especially when it comes to a mental health, mental well-being space. So that's great. And the fact that you're doing artwork is an amazing thing. That's art is one way of, expressing your emotions and healing yourself. So I
Yes.
think everybody should take to art. No, art therapy is coming up in a big way. And
Yes.
so art is a good way of expressing yourself and venting your emotions, and also relating to others and sharing things with others. So thank you very much for being on the show with us. So
Thank
Dr.
you. Thank you
Solanki,
so much.
welcome once again. And
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
pleasure. We can see you very well. We can hear you very well. And let me share with the audience that Dr. Solanki cannot see us now. So if you were to make any faces to him, he will not get to know what you're doing. So please feel free.
No. I am smiling and I'm
grimacing.
thankful to him. That's
Yeah,
the only
Yes.
grimacing,
thing.
making faces, but make sure that
Yes.
you don't voice it. No, voice can also reveal your expressions. So
I just have one request from Dr. Solanki now. The way you treated me, now you have to get my sister out of depression. That
We'll
is
try
one
my
thing I
best.
really want you to do now.
Dr. Solanki is going to
We'll
help
try.
each one of us. Every member of the group is going to help, and also besides, helping us with our mental issues, he's going to be helping us with his songs also, which will be of course, for another day, not today. And today,
Right.
let us talk about our main subject, that is anxiety and stress, especially in the times of COVID.
Right,
So,
right, right.
Dr. Solanki, why don't you just, first introduce yourself, anything extra which you want to say,
Yeah,
which I may have
so
missed,
yeah. So good evening, everyone, and I welcome all of you who have joined this webinar today. And first of all, I just say that I am Dr. Madhusudan Singh Solanki. I am a psychiatrist working with Max most of the time. And first of all, I would like to appreciate, acknowledge, and congratulate the founders of this group who have done a great job in bringing up this forum, because we need such forums to talk about mental health issues, as we know how much stigma and illiteracy is there regarding mental health in India. And also, Dr. Dhawan, I appreciate you being an accomplished ophthalmologist. You are doing a great job in bringing up mental health issues, helping the cause. Kudos to you, and I wish all strength to you and all the group members, all the founder members of this group.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you.
And thanks for having me here today. I'm really glad to be here. And I heard Dipti telling her story, her audio, her, her journey of coming out from depression and anxiety with such a candid expression. I really appreciate, because that requires a lot of courage. We have recently seen that people have started talking about it. Otherwise, it has always been a hush hush subject. Mostly people don't talk about it. So, and nothing happens unless we accept it and we start talking about it. So this is the beginning, and it's a great beginning. So, we are talking on a webinar. We are not interacting in a seminar, and most of us are working from home. So this speaks volumes about the gravity of the current situation we are all going through,
Right,
the
correct.
corona pandemic.
Right.
You see, it's a traumatic event. It started as a infective public health emergency or a pandemic, and now it has converted into an economic crisis and a mental health crisis as well. So you see, being a traumatic event, any traumatic event affects us at three levels. The first is that it attacks our sense of invulnerability. We have a sense of invulnerability, like it cannot happen to me. But when we see things happening to people around us, when we know what people are going through, people are getting infected, dying, then that sense is shaken up. It gets shaken up. Second is, it affects the way we see world as meaningful and comprehensible. We make a certain meaning out of the world, out of life. That also gets affected. We feel if this can happen, anything can happen at any moment. So we start feeling as if we cannot make sense of life anymore. And third is, any traumatic event, it induces us to think negative about ourselves. First, it starts with why me? Why did it happen with me only? What did I do to deserve this? Then worthlessness, hopelessness, helplessness, and so forth and so on. So this is how any traumatic event affects us at three levels, and it brings a lot of stress along with that. So stress has been an all-time high during these last 4 months. And if I talk about why this pandemic is being so stressful, there are some unique factors, because we are dealing with an unprecedented crisis. And this is in the first time of our lives, I think, we have been so bluntly told by life in our face that I'm so unpredictable. I remember I was making a trip to Europe 6 months back, And I was just about to book the tickets, and the news of this pandemic coming up came in. We canceled the trip, and now see what am I doing? I'm doing video consults. I'm sitting at home, only sometimes going to the hospital. Most of the people are working from home. The travel and tourism industry is completely shut down, and no one has even thought about it 4 months back or 6 months back. So this uncertainty, uncertainty freaks us out. So what are the unique things that are contributing to stress and anxiety in this pandemic itself? One is fear of catching the infection. What if I catch the infection? And the people who are going out, they have another fear over it. What if I catch the infection and I take it along to home, to my children, to my parents, to my grandparents? So that doubles up the stress. Second is uncertainty. As I'm talking about, uncertainty freaks us out. What will happen regarding the management, the treatment, the changing guidelines? Everything is uncertain, so it also induces a lot of stress. Third is social isolation. Traditionally in human history, isolation has been used as a punishment. So if somebody commits a crime, we jail those people. Jail is nothing but an isolation from your friends, family, and society. So isolation has been a punishment, and now with this pandemic, it has become a norm that everybody has to be isolated, maintain social distancing. People who are away from their parents are not going back to them for the fear of taking infection with them. People who have infection, they are put in quarantine. Again, more of isolation. So, elderly people who are staying alone, they cannot meet other people. So a lot of isolation is there, and isolation is a known stress factor. It causes a lot of stress. We human beings are not comfortable with that.
So,
Fourth
Dr.
is
Solanki, why don't
yeah.
we start with the very, very basics? That is, let us know that what exactly is stress, what exactly is anxiety. And
No, I was coming.
before we go on to that, I'll just request
yeah.
all the guests and the audience to mute their mic. Only let the speakers have the mic functioning. Plus, please post your questions in the chat or in the comment section. At the end of the talk, Anupama will be, helping us take the questions from the audience also. So Dr. Solanki will answer the questions as well. But right now, please pay attention to what he's saying. So, Dr.
Yeah,
Solanki?
so I was coming to that only. So I was just talking about what is unique about this pandemic. In general, there are factors for stress, but there are some unique factors with this pandemic. The fourth one is financial issues like job losses, insecurity regarding the future, what will happen with the economy and all those things. And fifth is misinformation. With the age of social media, news channels running 24 hours, almost everybody is getting exposed to corona related news, which we do not need to be aired 24 hours into our bedroom, but we are getting exposed to it, and that also causes a lot of stress. So these are 5 unique factors which are associated with this pandemic, giving rise to heightened anxiety and stress in these times. Now, as Dr. Dhawan said, what exactly stress is? So if I talk in layman terms, stress is a byproduct and end result of a constant struggle that is happening between our problems and our capacity to deal with those problems. So this struggle is always happening. Usually we manage our problems, the stress goes down, and we come out stronger out of the process. In other words, our stress resilience increases. We become more immune to stress. Problem happens when either the problem is overwhelming you, the stressor is overwhelming you, or it is going on for a long time, or in the process your capacity to deal with the problem is compromised. It is at that time stress, as we understand in layman terms, manifests. So there are basically 2 types of stresses. One is eustress. The stress which we all go through all the time and which actually makes us stronger in the process is eustress or healthy stress. For example, if you want to build a muscle, you need to give it some exercise. And every time you exercise, you need to push the limit a little bit to put some stress and strain on it. And then you will find that the strength of the muscle increases. The same happens with our mental capacity, physical capacity, emotional capacity, and our capacity to deal with stress. We are exposed to stress, we deal with it, we become stronger. This is eustress or healthy stress. De-stress or bad stress is the stress we usually talk about. That has negative consequences. And I told you when that happens. That happens when either the stressor is overwhelming or the stressor is going on for a long time, so a fatigue sets in, or your capacity to deal with the stress is compromised. In that situation, negative consequences of stress starts manifesting. Now, I want to make one thing also very clear. Stress and anxiety, we are discussing two things today.
Yeah.
What is the difference? So I tell you by taking a funny side to it. Stress is the husband, anxiety is the wife. And they are a very loving couple. So they often exist together. Wherever the husband goes, wife follows. So whenever we are facing a situation, we feel stress, and anxiety is the reaction to that stress. That means we feel anxiety in response to that stress. That's how we can understand how anxiety and stress are different. There are some more differences as well. Like stress is usually in response to an external event, that my exam is coming, I lost my job, I had an argument with somebody, I will feel stressed out, or this corona pandemic is there, I'm stressed out. Once the corona pandemic goes away, stress will come down. But anxiety is very interesting. So the husband is practical, the stress is practical, but the wife is a little imaginative, creative. So anxiety happens to some internal factors and some vague, uncertain situations which may not be even existing in your life right now, but you will be worried about that. They may be future negative events. They may be some event that have happened. You have been reassured nothing is wrong with you. Even then, if you are anxious, that's what anxiety is. It is in response to a vague uncertain situation.
I think you.
I think there's some interruption in the internet. We have seem to have lost Dr. Solanki. And
Yeah.
there is a nice comparison that he was talking about the spouses, and I hope to get him back on the show.
Yes.
He still shows up as a participant, but maybe his network is down.
Maybe we might leave the meeting and again join.
So let me just kind of recap what he said. What he said, that there are stresses are the stimuli in the environment, that constantly we are bombarded with stressful factors, or stresses is what he called him, and they incite a response in us, which is this stress, and so if there is an external force, there's an external trauma, there's an external impact, there is a response in the body which is called the stress. Anxiety, on the other hand, he says that it's a constant feeling, a constant perception, a constant thought, an emotional state, which may or may not be related to any external factor, which may persist even after the external factor has ended, which may be disproportionate to the external factor. And it's a state of, it's an emotional state. We have another psychiatrist on the panel with us right now. Can I request Dr. Manpreet Khemka to come on screen and talk to us while Dr. Madhusudan Solanki is trying to get back online?
That
Yes, Dr. Khemka. Dr. Khemka has muted herself. Now I think.
Can you see me?
Now we can see you and I hear you also. Yes.
You can hear me?
And see you also.
Yes, one correction to Dr. Solanki. Stress is the wife and anxiety is the husband.
Okay. So I said spouses. They're spouses, So that is generic, Like let's just call them
Yes.
as spouses, Okay.
Okay.
So tell us your views on. So I said that there are external factors which can be stressful, and our response to that is stress, And whereas anxiety is a constant feeling of which may or may not be related to the external factor, Is that correct
Right.
or no?
Yeah, I agree with that. So stress, like we were talking in the last session about depression and sadness too. So I would say stress is a normal human emotion. We have it in a way that it helps us survive. It helps us cope through the challenges that we are meeting. So some stress is very important. I'm here wearing this mask. I'm coming to work. I know I'm working in Corona times. If I'm not stressed about catching the infection, I would not be taking all the right precautions to keep myself and my family safe or my patients safe. So stress is important to improve our functionality, improve our survival. But when it gets to the point where it's absolutely consuming our life, we are just worried about catching the infection, taking the infection, what will happen, what if I die, what if this, and it just, the whole cycle keeps on continuing. It's just consuming too much of energy. So instead of that making me productive at that point, it's just kind of creating a roadblock for me to continue with my day-to-day living. So that's when we are talking about that crossing the limits from healthy stress to the point where it's becoming more detrimental. So then we are talking about anxiety disorders.
Okay. So your stress is it external to the body or to the mind, or is it internal to the mind? Is it our response?
Can you say the question again?
Is stress an external thing from the environment, or is it our response to the external things?
So there is a factor. It's both ways. There may be some trigger, something in the environment which is a stimulus, and sometimes we perceive it in a rational way, but sometimes we can magnify it many folds. So it's a combination of both the external stimulus and our own perception of how we are perceiving it, how we are viewing it.
Great. So Dr. Solanki is also on, I think. Can you?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. You're back.
Yes. I'm sorry for the
welcome back.
network issue. Hi, Dr. Manpreet.
So
Hello,
we
Dr.
had, we had Dr. Manpreet proxying for you, So it's like,
Thank you so much. I heard your last talk. It was really wonderful.
So you all carry on. I'll get to work.
Yes. Thank you. Dr. Manpreet, thank you very much for taking time off for this.
Thank you so much for covering for me.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
we were discussing about the consequences of stress. How do we experience stress, right?
So I posed a question to Dr. Manpreet. I think I'll pose the same question to you. So
Right.
Is stress something which is external to us, or is it a response to the external factors and stimuli?
See, it is a combination of those two things. One is what the external threat or the problem is that we are facing. Definitely that triggers the stress response. And also our perception, how you are perceiving the event. The perception plays a very big role. That's why you place 10 people in the same situation, they all will feel different levels of stress. Because their response to stress depends upon how each one of them is perceiving the particular situation.
Right.
That's why. So the perception also plays a very big role.
Okay. So, and anxiety is basically a disproportionate or a prolonged response to the same thing.
Yes, it is disproportionate, it is prolonged, and it also has some vague and uncertain components to it that are not usually seen. Usually we can identify your stressors in life, but in anxiety at times it is very difficult to even identify what is making you anxious.
So what are the causes of anxiety?
See, the causes of anxiety is that some people are, you can say biologically, they are a little more vulnerable to get anxious. They have a tendency, their stress response system or anxiety response system is a little more active than other people. So they get anxious, and this can be seen from the very beginning, when somebody is a child, you will see some children are very active and they take risks, while some children are avoidant. They don't like strangers. They get nervous when they are socially exposed, you know. So these are some things that we inherit also, and these are some things that come from the biology of our brain, and these are some things that we learn during the growing up years, you know. We may be exposed to certain events in our life that leave a lasting impression on our brain, on our mind, and we may become particularly phobic or anxious for certain situations. Traumas, especially in childhood, also play a bigger role. And what kind of modeling we have seen from our parents and the, you know, the elders around us, what kind of anxiety responses and stress responses we have seen in them, that also at times, you know, influences how we learn those techniques, those coping skills, and deal with anxiety in our life.
So in other
But
words, yeah, please.
but I would like to add one more thing.
Yeah.
But at times it has no reason whatsoever you may identify. So it can happen de novo as well. Sometimes you just become anxious after a particular event in your life. The anxiety can happen. We cannot even identify from where it is coming.
Can I request people to mute their mic, please? Okay, so in other words, it's a combination of genetics as well as the environment. So you may be born.
Genetics, environment, psychology, your upbringing, your events in your life, adverse events, they play a very big role.
Yeah.
And the current situation in your life, whether it is you know, going smoothly or you have stressors in your life right now, all that in combination can predispose an episode in your life of particular anxiety disorder.
So is anxiety always abnormal, or there is some component which is normal also?
Anxiety is a normal reaction of, you know, anxiety is a normal emotion as well. So we may feel anxious before an exam or before an event or after a particular negative event in our life. It is in response to that. If it is appropriate and it then goes down after the event has passed, that is a normal anxiety that we feel. So some amount of anxiety is actually beneficial for us because it prepares us to, you know, kind of take action. Suppose if I am not anxious about my exams, why would I prepare for that in advance? You know, all these things, especially life insurance. Why do we take life insurance? Because we have an anxiety. What will happen of my dependents after I'm no more? So we take preventive actions. We plan our life because we have a certain amount of anxiety in us, and
So,
that is actually beneficial.
okay. So what happens to a person who has got anxiety or stress, you know, or in other words, technically speaking, what are the symptoms and signs of anxiety and stress? You know?
So basically, I told you anxiety is a pattern, is in itself. I told you that in itself it is a big topic to be discussed separately, but I will take it as a component of stress today.
Right.
That normally we have bad influences coming on ourselves in many domains. One is your emotional domain. You may start feeling low. You may start feeling anxious. You may start feeling nervous. You may start feeling irritable. So all these things start happening emotionally to you when you are feeling stressed. You are feeling stressed out. Then you have behavioral consequences. Like you may start avoiding people and situations because they stimulate you. And when we are stressed out, we don't like to be stimulated. Right? Then procrastination can be there. You think a lot about things and then you don't take any action. You keep postponing things because you are stressed out, right? And then you can have restlessness, impatience coming in your behavior. Some people turn towards substance use, you know, to deal with stress and anxiety. That also is a behavioral component, which is a maladaptive approach. And then you may start indulging into high risk and self-destructive behaviors as well. In terms of your physical health, Anxiety also has a great impact. Stress also has a great impact. How does it manifest? You may have problems with your sleep. Your sleep may go up. You may have less sleep. You may have more sleep. Then you may have issues with your weight. You may start losing weight. You may start gaining weight. Then you have problems with headaches. Like you may have that if you have migraines, your migraines are going up in frequency. Then you may have aches and pains in the body. Then you may have, because in stress, your immunity goes down. So you may find that you are getting sick very frequently. You're falling sick very frequently. And then you have fatigue and tiredness. These all things may happen in your, physical domain. And then in cognitive domain, you may find that you find it difficult to concentrate and focus. You may find that you go blank at times. You may find that you are becoming forgetfulness in day-to-day activities. So all these are, different domains where stress affects us. These are all the negative and, negative consequences of stress.
So this COVID pandemic, it is really a big worldwide event. It has changed life for everyone. There's a fear of disease and fear of death. There's a lockdown happening. People are stranded away from their homes, and they cannot get back home. Their folks back home are worried about them. Their salary cuts, their job cuts, and some people are getting disease, getting the COVID infection. Its treatment is expensive. There's an uncertainty of the outcome. There's a deaths in families or friends, or we get to hear about them every day. People are working from home. There's social media which is bombarded with information, misinformation, news, good news, bad news. Schools are closed. Online classes are happening. Kids are spending more time on these screens. Kids are home. Parents finding it difficult to manage them. There's a loss of academy and health for the thing. Parents are anxious. Couples are living together day in day out. So there's there's an opportunity for increased happiness or stress both ways.
Yeah, both ways.
Yeah, and there are people who are living alone. Also. So all these things which are happening, how have these things affected people's mind and their mental state?
See, these things have greatly affect people's mind and their mental state. As you have rightly said, that all these things are probably happening for the first time in people's lives. People initially liked the idea of working from home, staying at home, close to the family, close to people. But soon they realized that they were at loss about how to manage this newfound time with the kids, time with the spouse, time with oneself. We were so much into the daily routine that seldom people were thinking about life as such. What am I doing from morning to evening? Because I was not having any time to think about it. Now suddenly I got so much of time that it is stressing me out. How do I manage it? And then the other factors, like if you are away from the family, you have to stay away from the family. You are not going to them. Then kids, they are not going to school. They are at home. And the parents are also working from home. So they have to manage their work from home as well as kids, which earlier was the, you can say it was the pain for the teachers. Now that also has come upon the parents. Yeah. How to, even if you, even if they have classes, online classes and all that, even then a lot of time is there. Apart from that, when they will be looking at you, what to do now? I cannot go out. I cannot go to play. What do I do? Mom, what do I do? My father. So this way, one has to think a lot in innovative ways to find solutions to these things, and which are not easy for most of the people. Plus, as you have rightly said, the economic stress, the salary is less, the expenditures are the same, and then the fear of getting infected, and what if I do not get a bed in the hospital? What if we require ICU, and from where we will arrange the money for that? And all these things are very stressful for most of the people. And that's why, plus I tell you one very interesting thing, the recent suicide committed by actor Sushant Singh Rajput.
Yeah.
And the event that happened in Ladakh, these two events suddenly have, brought the focus from the pandemic to mental health.
Yeah.
Because suddenly we realized, oh my God, if he can do it, people started questioning their own lives.
Yeah.
Because everyone was in a bad situation. Most of the people were in a bad situation. And then somebody who was supposedly doing good in his life, if he ends up taking such kind of a step, that starts giving a lot of legitimacy to the step in people's mind.
Right.
Right. And they start questioning their own lives, their own routines, what they are doing. And that's why suddenly we see people talking about mental health for past 4 or 5 weeks. But it is tragic to, you know, kind of wake people up from the slumber of insensitivity towards mental health issues. But still, if it is happening, that's a good thing. And we have to grab this opportunity to keep the momentum going on. And this forum, today we are discussing about stress. How to manage that stress is the right step in this direction. So it is right. Stress is all-time high. Now, what to do about it?
Yeah. And I keep admiring and appreciating Kavita that she's taken a great step in forming this group and
Yes.
trying to help each other, you know. And so this is one good way of, you know, dealing with your own stress also. You reach out to others, you know,
Definitely.
to help other
Definitely.
others, you know, and in that process,
Definitely.
you get help yourself also. So this brings us to the next part, that is the treatment. What is the treatment? What is the management? How to deal with the difficulties of stress and anxiety?
See, in general, there are certain ways in which we can deal with stress in a better way. And one of them, as we are doing right now, we are communicating with each other, right? We are expressing ourselves. This is one of the fundamental basics to deal with stress. So one is communicating, that we start talking about it. And then comes the importance of accepting it, that yes, stress is existing. These are the things, identifying what exactly is causing stress to me, identifying the stress factors, stressors, accepting it, acknowledging it that yes, it is a stressful situation. It's okay to feel stressed out in such situation. It is okay to feel anxious in such a pandemic, in such times. That legitimacy to feel okay with anxiety and stress in this situation also gives a lot of relief, because then we come to the next stage, how to manage it. If I am accepting something, only then I can manage it, right? So the acceptance that yes, this situation is really stressful. Most of the people are stressed out. So I am stressed out also. Most of the people are worried about things, about the future, about a lot of things. So am I worried about things. I am not alone in this. This realization that I am not alone in this. And then I communicate, I express. I communicate with my family, my friends, my colleagues, and if needed, in forums like this, or to the professionals if I find it overwhelming. So first step is communication, and communication is not only verbal. You know, verbal is just one way of doing it. Expressing can happen through arts. It can happen through music. It can happen through dance movement, calligraphy, writing the stuff if you have nobody to talk to, talking the stuff into the phone, you know, listening to the recording and deleting it. So these are all the ways you can express yourself, even when you have somebody in your life or you don't have somebody in your life right now, but you have verbal and non-verbal ways of communicating and expressing yourself. And that is the first step in dealing with stress, that you need to acknowledge it, you need to accept it, and then you need to communicate about it. You need to talk about it.
So what is the role of a psychologist or a psychiatrist in a situation like this?
No, I would like to further continue on the point first, that what we can do to deal with it in general, because the role of a psychiatrist or psychologist comes when you find that even after the best of my efforts, I'm not able to deal with it. Right? Then the professionals come into picture.
Right.
But as such, in society and with our own efforts and techniques, we can deal with it to a large extent. So
Right.
I told about one is acknowledgement and acceptance, that feeling stressed out or feeling anxious is okay in the current situation.
Right.
And then communicating or talking about it, expressing about it. And then I would suggest a technique that if you are a worried well sort of a person, who is a worried well? Person who is well, fine, but is worried. So we see around a lot of people around us who are worried well. So they will think about, even if they have some sneezing, they will think, oh my God, have I contracted corona? Should I get myself tested? What if I've transferred the infection to my parents, my children? You know, there are people who have things almost going fine in life, but they are still worried, a lot worried about things. So I call them worried well. And how they can deal with the anxiety, I tell them to make a worry corner in their house. They should designate a place in their room where they will place a not so comfortable chair or stool. It should not be comfortable.
Right.
Because if it is comfortable, you will sit there and then do your worrying. I want you to designate a place in your home where you will set a specific time range, that for half an hour I will sit there and I'll do all my worrying at that point. So in the rest of the day, whenever I get a worrisome thought, I postpone that thought to my worry zone and my worry time. That okay, I'll think about it when I'll sit there. And then I distract myself into something else, which I'm doing right now. So this technique actually brings your anxiety, which was all pervasive, to a certain period of time in your day. And this helps because many people just cannot come out of the anxiety that they are feeling or the stress that they are feeling, and that hampers their ability to deal with the task that they are doing currently, be it talking with someone, be it their office work, or be it enjoying something or watching something. They are not there completely because something is going on inside the mind. So if you get those kind of thoughts, just tell yourself, okay, fine, I'll think about it when I will sit in my worry zone. Till then, I won't think about it. And then distract yourself into the activity that you are doing, that you really want to do that point. So this is a way of dealing with extra anxiety or extra worry that we have. Then exercising, as you know, remaining physically active. And I suggest if you are at home, confined to the home, you cannot go out in the garden for a walk or something, at least walk 5 minutes in an hour. If you walk 5 minutes per hour, it becomes 1 hour in 12 hours without even going for a walk. So that also helps a lot in dealing with stress and anxiety, physical activity, because it releases certain endorphins. You know it well, Dr. Dhawan. You have been so,
I'm the greatest propounder of exercise and fitness for mental health issues. In fact, this
Yes.
we're holding a chat on road to fitness, and
I saw that. That's why I'm saying this. Yes. And then setting a me time. You have to have a me time apart from your kids, your work, your office work, any other thing that is taking a toll on you. You have to have some time, half an hour, 1 hour, in which you do something which takes you away from all this, like listening to some good songs, watching something, talking to a friend, a kind of a friend talking with you, feel that your stress levels goes down. You can share things with your friend, or just take a walk, and then indulging in any type of creative expression, as I, discussed earlier also.
Right.
Identifying your inner circle. This is a silver lining in this pandemic, that suddenly we have realized that you cannot physically meet people. So we are connecting with people through digital means. But in digital means, we are realizing that there is a group of 3-4 people or 1-2 people in your life whom you can contact any time of the day. You can talk your heart out. So it is also very important to identify your inner circle and be their support and take support from them. So we have to invest in those kind of relationships as well, even if it is digitally also. That can give you a lot of support against stress and anxiety.
Great. So,
Then detaching yourself, one more step, detaching yourself from the continuous news about corona pandemic.
right.
So it is very important to just watch the news for few minutes in the morning, few minutes in the evening to just take an update. But the running, if it is just running all through the day in your bedroom, you are constantly listening to how many numbers are there, the corona meter and everything. It is not going to help. You have to detach yourself from that and focus on the life around you. And that is also a very important step in dealing with stress. So, and then connecting to your spiritual side. I'm just talking about, Dr. Dhawan, the general things that we all need to do in dealing with stress.
Correct. Correct. Yes.
Correct. Connecting to your spiritual side. Studies have shown that it is a very important tool which helps in dealing with stress. So, praying or meditation or feeling grateful for the things that you have, having an attitude of forgiveness, and then keeping a broader perspective on life. All this also helps in making you more resilient to stress.
Great. So I think the very important points which you brought out, which I'll kind of enumerate for the audience before we take the
Yeah.
audience question. First
Yeah.
is you said that there should be an anxiety corner in our house. So I would request all the members of the group to make a anxiety corner, take a picture of that anxiety corner
And
and
not,
post it on
and
the
it,
group also. No.
yeah, and it should not be comfortable.
Yes, very, very uncomfortable. If you can have
Yes.
a bed of thorns over there, that is the ideal to have.
Yes, yes,
Secondly, there should be a me time where you are basically with yourself, thinking about
yes.
yourself, listening to music and just being comfortable with yourself, which is different from the anxiety corner time.
Yeah.
You work on your fitness part, and in case you want to start on fitness regime, you can join my talk on Sunday morning at my channel. Find a creative expression, like Dipti has started painting, which is a very
Yes.
good way of doing
Yes.
things, or people sing, people dance, people write, So find a creative expression. Develop some close relationships with close friends and family where you are able to pour your heart out. You're able to discuss your inner fears and inner anxiety. And as you said, lastly, develop some degree of detachment from the situation around you. So develop a Zen state, do some meditation, find your spiritual side also. So these are the 6 things that you can do to deal with stress. And now I'll call in Anupma, our
Yeah.
co-host.
One more thing I would
Yes.
like to add, Dr. Dhawan,
Yeah.
is that we need to practice to improve our problem solving skills as well.
Right.
In general in life, and in dealing with all the situations in life, we need to practice problem solving skills. Some people are by birth they are more resilient to stress, but we can develop stress resilience to a great extent by practicing problem solving skill. And what is problem solving skill is that any time a problem comes in your life, you identify the problem, the various parts of the problem, then identify whether you can deal with the problem in one go or you can deal with the different parts. Take one part which you have to deal with now, think about various options, various alternatives that you can do to solve that part, take action, wait for the results, review it, and then follow the same technique for other parts or the problem itself. You have to improvising and keep practicing this thing so that gradually whenever a problem comes in your life, you do not feel completely blanked out in front of the problem or overwhelmed by it, but you deal with it head on, and you can do it because it is learnable. You can learn it.
Correct. That's
I
fantastic.
think one of the things that Dr. Solanki had told me was like whenever you feel anxious or stressed out, go stand in front of the mirror and just say it's just an attack. It will come and it will go. It's not going to destroy you. It's just going to go. Just keep on saying that. I think he did that. Don't be stand in front of the mirror. Just go on. Maybe a few lines and you just say that in front of the mirror. That it's just a panic attack. It will not harm you.
His voice
It's just
is not
going up. Yeah.
Your audio is not clear.
Oh,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was not clear. Is it clear now?
No, no.
No, no, it is not.
One minute. I'll just try.
So I'll request Dr. Solanki to tell me about the technique which he had taught Deepti about standing in front of the mirror and talking about the problem or something.
See, if you don't have anybody in your life, and this talking in front of the mirror technique, I tell people to improve the self-image and self-confidence. You know, people who have a lot of social anxiety, they find it very difficult to face people and talk to them. Even if they have somebody in their life, we have people who are introverts, they just don't talk about things. They find it very hard to open up. So for them, they can do one thing, they can just stand in front of the mirror 10 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day, look into your own eyes and talk to yourself as if you are talking to somebody else. Ask questions, give answers, you know, because we are usually, when we are talking, we are not looking at ourselves. So this experience of looking at yourself while you're talking, and while you're talking to yourself as a second person, as if you're talking to someone else, that gives you a lot of confidence about talking to other people when when you are in those situations.
Yes, I'm back. Now am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes,
much,
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
very
you are.
clear, very
Okay.
clear.
So what he told me was that when a panic attack, or if you're having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, just go and stand in front of the mirror and just tell yourself that this panic attack is not going to kill you. It is just going to come and go. And he also gave me 4 to 5 lines which he told me to say.
Yes,
That
yes.
just a matter of time. It will just go away. It cannot kill you. It doesn't have that power to kill you. So that you have to do always when you have a panic attack.
Yeah. So you see, when you have a panic attack or anything, the thought comes to your mind that what is happening to me? Something dreadful is happening to me. I may die. Maybe I'm having a heart attack. This is how a person thinks when they have a panic attack. So in that situation, giving yourself the right kind of thoughts that no, it is just anxiety. I know it has happened to me many times. It cannot harm me beyond a point. It scares me, but it cannot kill me. These kind of rational thoughts to counter the panic attack are very, very important, and they reduce the panic attack.
And also you gave me one of the exercises that you have to touch 5 things which are blue. You have to see 5 things which are red which you can eat, 5 things which are yellow which you can like touch and eat. So that diverted the mind. So now whenever I get a panic attack, that is what I tell my daughter to do with me. Now she's 10 years old, so she does with this too. She says, okay mama, I know that. Okay, now find 5 things which are blue and don't tell me the normal
Yeah,
ones. Tell me ones which you cannot find
yeah,
easily.
it's actually a distraction technique so that you can just divert your mind from the panic feelings to just something, so that your mind is not focusing on the anxiety, because anxiety is something, the more we focus on it, it grows bigger. So if you can
Yes,
take away your mind to somewhere else, suddenly it comes down.
yes,
So,
exactly.
Dr. Dhawan,
Dr. Solanki, we
uh,
got a few questions from the audience. Let us
Yeah,
take them one by one. First is
yeah.
that does stress or anxiety also induce gastric issues?
Definitely, I told you in the physical manifestations of stress and anxiety. You see, why do we call gut feeling? We say, "Na, my gut feeling says." Why do we say gut feeling? Because the gut feels. Because we have the same neurotransmitters or receptors in the gut as we have in our brain, and they are intimately linked. So if we have a problem in our mind, like stressed out, anxious, our gut will also reflect that. So you may have indigestion, you may have constipation or acidity or loose motions or burps, you know. So all these things can happen when you are anxious. Gut is very, very sensitive to stress and anxiety.
Second
uh,
question, how can we help a teenager with anxiety issues so that it doesn't complicate things for them?
I could not get your question, doctor.
How
Please,
can
can
we
you
help
repeat it?
teenagers with anxiety issues?
Whoa, that's a volatile question. You see, teenage in itself is a state to be dealt with a lot of precision and caution. Most of us find it very difficult to deal with teenagers because this state is like that. They are individuating, they are separating from you, they become a little rebellious, they start expressing their independence a little bit, they feel overconfident in certain things, they may start answering you back, and they may not even tell you when they're anxious because they feel that you will think they are not strong. So usually, if we have provided them with the avenue of good communication that they can open up in front of you, they may tell. Otherwise, you have to look in the behavior, if they are suddenly withdrawn, if there is a change in the behavior, mood, talking, in the performance in the school, that means something is going wrong. So a parent has to pick up on those signs and then talk with the teenager. Usually all the things that we discussed in how to deal with stress, a teenager can be taught to deal with stress in the similar manner. But because teenagers is an age when they are also struggling internally a lot, and they are not usually on good terms with people who teach them. So they have to be taught in a way that they do not feel that they are not being taken into consideration. Their thoughts are not being taken into consideration. So you make them a party to it, and then introduce something, and most importantly, by your own modeling of that behavior. If you are following all those things, you need not teach, they will imbibe it.
So bottom line is treat the teenagers as adults, and then talk to them.
But you have to set the limits and everything. You cannot be their friend, but you don't have to enter into power struggles with them.
Right.
So you have to focus on the behavior rather than the feelings.
So last and a very interesting question which is here is that when I interact with people, there are times when my stress and anxiety are lowered. However, there are also times when someone else's stress and anxiety really triggers mine. What can be done about that?
That's an interesting question. And with the details that are coming up, the stress and anxiety going up because somebody else is stressed around you, we call it second-hand stress. Right? And some people are more prone to it as well. Some people are sensitive. They cannot process or handle. You can say they cannot empathize, rather they get drowned in the emotions the other person is feeling. So for them, it is very important to start practicing looking things at objectively. You have to help the person, you have to listen to what the person is saying, but you don't have to, keep it inside you for long, or to negatively affect you in a way that you are not in a position to help the person anymore. So it is very important that you realize that where do I have to draw a line in terms of what can I tolerate and what I cannot tolerate. Not everyone can be, so adept at listening to people's woes.
Dr. Solanki, I have one question. Kavita here. Does depression trigger of anxiety and stress? Do they go hand in hand? Because sometimes it so happens that I'm just crying the whole day.
Right. See, Kavita, depression, most of the time, it is seen that anxiety comes and goes with depression. It stays there. It is there as a comorbidity at times.
Okay.
And even stress, stress is a very general and generic term, but if you are depressed, you will definitely feel stressed.
Constantly stressed. It's very
difficult. If your depression is not under control, or it is not something which you can deal with, you will feel stress along with that. And anxiety also, if you have anxiety as a comorbidity, but if you are depressed, you are more prone to get anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a disorder we call where both the things are existing, in mixed anxiety and depressive disorder, where both the things are existing together. So you may have a depressive episode, then you may have an anxiety episode, and you may have both the things comorbid as well at the same time. So that can also happen.
So I need to see you. I'll see you. I will be consulting you.
That's a good conclusion, Kavita. And so we are towards the end of our time. I'd like to first of all thank Dr. Madhusudan Singh Solanki for coming to our show and sharing
My pleasure being here.
his expertise, his knowledge, and his thoughts. We would like to invite you once again later on for different topics. And
Definitely.
for the audience, whoever wants to meet him, consult him, they can do so at Max Healthcare, Max Smart Saket, or you can go for an online consult with him. I'll be sharing his number in the comment section later on. And let me just summarize what he said today. First is to be able to deal with stress. You have to accept that this is a situation which is stressful, and it is normal to be affected by that situation. He talked about anxiety corner, forming a small corner in your house, which is not very comfortable, and spending some time of the day over there thinking about your anxieties, about your worries. No? He talked about taking out some me time where you think about yourself, what is like in your future, in your past. Basically, spend time with yourself. He emphasized that you must exercise regularly. So there's an importance given to fitness, which helps in our mental state. No? Try to find some way of creatively expressing yourself while painting, writing, singing, dancing, blogging, whatever you like to do. Focus on relationship. You must have at least a few close confidante, some friends, some family members with whom you can talk without any hesitation, with whom you can talk about your worries, about your anxieties, about your fears. And try to detach yourself from the situation which is there right now, the COVID pandemic, and be somewhat neutral to it. Try to work on your spiritual side also. And lastly, but not leastly, he said that develop your skills to be able to deal with the problems, to be able to solve with the problems. So often what happens is when people are faced with some problem, they just start thinking about the problem, and the problem gets amplified. So don't think the problem, but think of the solution and work on your skills for the solution. Before I conclude today's show, let me just introduce about the next week. Next week is a very, very important topic we will be covering, psychotherapy. So all that you need to know about psychotherapy, counseling, what are the various forms of psychotherapy, how it can help, we'll be talking about that in the next week. We'll have an expert, Miss Srija Day, who's a senior psychologist working with Apollo Spectra Hospital, who'll be with us as a guest, and she's a senior psychologist who is registered with the Rehabilitation Council of India with 10 years of experience. So looking forward to seeing her on next Friday, that is 17th of July, 7 p.m., same time, same place. So I'll be signing off. Thank you very much for being on the show. Thanks, Kavita, for this forum. Thanks, Dipti, for coming in as a guest to share your experience. Thanks, Adupma, for helping me as a co-host. And once again, thank you, Dr. Solanki, and thanks, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.